Hello, 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 everybody. It is so good to see all of your digital non-existent faces in the chat. Welcome to session 2 of the Angel You Know, a Halo and Horns mini-series here on Transplanar RPG's channel. I am one of your two devious/angelic GMs tonight. Connie, my pronouns are they, he, and she. You could find me on all the social media, but most prominently TikTok and Twitter at by Connie Chang. That's BYCONNIECHANG. I'm going to pass along introductions over to my other GM, Brandy.
Hi, everybody. I am Brandy Rose, pronouns they, them. You'll usually find me on Twitter at the Brandy Rose, or now more frequently on Instagram at Brandy Rose Official, or Twitch and TikTok at Cutest Patoot, because I am the cutest patoot. What's a patoot? People ask me that all the time. It's a butt. So hi, hello, welcome. And I'm very, very excited to be your devil today. I know Connie said devious, like it's the adjective that suits them the most. Connie is our angel. And then I will pass introductions along to Hamna.
Yes, hello. My name is Hamna, and I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Twitter at @shahid_, where I talk about all of the different projects that I'm a part of. And today I'll be playing the mortal Huzefa Usman, who uses they, them pronouns.
Fantastic. And now that we've got intros out of the way, a quick little thing about the channel you're looking at this on before we get started. Transplanar RPG is, if you don't know already, an all-transgender, BIMPOC-led, 100% homebrewed Dungeons & Dragons show set in Andake, an original non-colonial anti-Orientalist world. We are currently playing through our first main campaign, The Second Stranger, which is a dark fantasy campaign that follows 8 broken heroes as they try to repair a broken realm filled with the echoes of broken gods and ward off the Second Stranger, a world-ending entity that is definitely not a metaphor for my depression. If that's interesting to you, if you like queer romance and despair and hope and finding light at the bottom of a well, this is the dramatic show for you. That's my plug. That's my plug for the evening. Tune in Saturdays. Let me try that again. Tune in Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv Transplanar RPG, and give us a follow on our various social medias at Transplanar RPG, most prominently Twitter. The spirit of Drac has seized me. I don't know what's happening here.
I'm telling Drac you blamed him for this.
No.
Especially after Drac witnessed your
blame
English
Drac because you
accent
do
in
this
play.
all the time.
Call it out on my own channel. I will be issuing an influencer apology later tonight about appropriating British people. I don't know. Very excited for this particular session. Sorry for the energy I'm bringing into chat tonight. Let's get into Halo and Horns. Let's get into this incredible session filled with a mortal I'm very, very excited to meet. So yes, this is our second session of Halo and Horns, and Brandy, are you ready to lose again? Because I'm sure ready for your devil to lose again.
Oh, Melchior underestimated you. Underestimated you from the beginning. That will not happen again. Let me tell you.
Well,
I have come prepared, and I have all of the hellish powers on my side. That being said, Brandy gets anxious when they have to lie. So we'll see how many hellish powers I have at my disposal. But Melchior is prepared.
I think what's hilarious here is that as players, I feel like as a person, I'm much more suited to a devil role. But I'm playing the angel, and you're like a lot more like angelic. But you're playing the devil. We're even wearing like inverted colors.
I know.
Yeah,
I did this on purpose, though. I did this on purpose.
I did not. So, the dichotomy of man. Yes, let's get started. Hamna, our wonderful, incredible, talented immortal, tell us, who are you? Where are you? And what are you doing?
So, to set the scene, I think we start at sunset. We see the sky, the sun is low, just now having begun to set, and we see a very large outdoor courtyard, and around it there is this stone building that is larger, dwarfs all of the other buildings in the area around it. We follow through arches that are decorated with these like very intricate foliate reliefs, and we go through until we get to a part of the building that has a domed ceiling. And there are windows all around this entire section of the building with little telescopes kind of poking out from each window. And if we go through one of those windows, we will find Josefa Usman at one of the telescopes, peering through. Josefa is a 6-foot slender figure with brown skin and very sharp kind of angular features. Their hair is a shoulder length curly brown, and they have these circular glasses that they wear. And right now they're just kind of looking through one of the telescopes. They can't actually see anything particularly in the sky right now. The sun hasn't fully set yet, but they're very anxiously just kind of like checking anyway, because today is a very big day for them. They have a big presentation to give to their fellow astronomers, their fellow scholars, and to higher ups in the region, because Josefa Usman works at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad in the early 13th century, otherwise known as the Grand Library of Baghdad, which is the royal library for the caliphs.
Ooh, hello, Josefa. Wow. Ooh, hot PC spotted. So I think as you're peering through this telescope up at the sky, as like the sky all around you is dimming, there's a poof that's audible to no mortal ears, yourself included, Josefa. You don't notice this at all, but there's a poof of like gold smoke and dust, and materializing into existence, like rippling through a shimmer in reality, now leaning up against a wood banister, is the angel Artemisia. Last we saw her in 2022 London, she was wearing a 3-piece charcoal gray suit. Now, she is wearing this richly decorated like fabric, I think with like a warp of gold thread and a weft of silk around her body, these like richly patterned silk drapes to fit in, right? Like, and not like stand out too much. She looks like she could be like a higher ranking like aristocrat or noble or something, right? Her hair, as always, is shaved almost down to the scalp with like a little bit of fuzz growing out of it. She has these extremely sharp, like strong, almost aquiline features, right? Like she was cut from like diamond or marble. Like she doesn't quite look real when you look at her. There's something like a little too statuesque about her. And the most prominent feature about Artemisia, my angel, is her nose, right? It's a really strong nose. Looks like it could have been like the nose of like an emperor or something, right? She looks quite at home here, like looking around at this like vast observatory, like dark eyes fixed upon the various beautiful foliate inlays right on this domed ceiling, turns and then awaits for her companion to arrive.
And with a very strange sound, it's not audible to mortal ears, but is that the intro music to and you hear this like jazzy kind of like low beat. Is it
Seinfeld, Brandy? Is it the intro to Seinfeld?
No, it is the PH intro. There's this like light like that is just echoing through these beautiful halls. These halls are too beautiful for that sound probably, but Melchior doesn't care. Melchior appears in a cloud of like pink perfumed smoke this time. Last time was all about irritants and smelling like sulfur and smelling spicy and aggressive. And now everything smells, the room smells like chocolate, like dark chocolate, like very rich dark chocolate, maybe with a little bit of spice in it, but not an uncomfortable spice, a hot spice. And Melchior appears. Melchior is about 5'6", very slender with like glowing brown skin, and is dressed like a professor. Is dressed like a professor from the 60s, the 1960s. She gets her eras a little confused, and by confused I mean she doesn't check her memos before she leaves.
I have to know
she
Melchior.
skips them.
A professor from like America 1960s or from like
England.
England.
Very
Oh my
mod. It's a very mod look. It's a white, like very mod cut, like floor length still dress, and in cream white, which is a color that I'm a little uncomfortable in, frankly. They shift a little here and there. All of their dark hair is gathered into a low bun, and they have fake glasses on that they don't need to see because they're a devil. Who needs glasses when you're a devil? But the glasses are to look smarter. which will be necessary because the tome that they are pretending to read is upside down. So Melchior looks up and goes, "Oh, you. Hello, you."
Let's see. And Artemisia doesn't even raise her eyes from the scroll that she's perusing, right? Like a really thick, like a really
Legit
dense
reading,
text,
too.
like an actual academic text that she's actually just like reading through, right? Like not even looking up. Anachronistic smells, sounds, and appearances. I see that's the Melchior checklist.
I'm gonna pretend I know what that word means.
Hmm.
And I'd like to point out that the book that Melchior is reading is like The Ugly Duckling, and it is upside down.
You're reading
It's a
that children's
book.
picture book upside down, Melchior.
Who says I'm reading? Maybe I'm just perusing modern art from a different perspective. But of course, an angel like you wouldn't understand anything about the finer pleasures of life, like art.
Speaking of the arts and sciences, shall we get this show on the road?
I mean, if you're eager to lose, I won't underestimate you again. And passes by, and much like the last time they met, to this point now finally manicured, don't look at mine, finally manicured fingernails come up underneath Artemisia's chin as Melchior passes and walks down this beautiful, like little winding little staircase down through these beautiful halls.
You should cut your nails. And this one, it's an important day for them. Not just for them, but for the entirety of human achievement. So, I don't take this mortal soul's outcome very lightly.
Do you take anything lightly? My God, you need a massage. I know somebody in the 16th century. I think they could hook you up. I think you'd be a lot more pleasant to be around if you just relaxed a little.
Anyway.
Unclenched, maybe.
Artemisia interrupts and flings a wrist. And our sweet dear mortal, Josefa, you hear a kind of like groaning, like almost like clanging noise, as I think one of like the sealed doors in this area, this balcony area with the telescopes, groans open. Bumbling out is your research assistant that has been assigned to you by by the library. She does her best. She does her best. She really wants your job, right? Like, really obviously. She bumbles through, like, an armful of scrolls. Basma. She's got, like, this, like, thick, curly hair, this, like, dark skin, right? She's, like, tripping over her robes a little bit because you get the feeling that the tailor was like, no woman could be this short, right? But she's quite short, right? And she's sort of just, like, bubbly forward. Her proportions are a little off, a little weird. She's got these, like, thick spectacles on. She's just holding, like, an armful of scrolls. She comes toward you. A couple, like, come loose. You know, they, like, unravel and they, like, drop onto the floor and, like, unscroll behind her.
Hey, I've got the extra research materials you asked for, but are you sure you want to make additions to your notes, Zur? Just a couple hours before the presentation?
Josefa, like, fixes their glasses, stands up maybe a little bit too slowly, and turns around. Yes, Basmat, I need to make sure that everything is perfect. I need to double check that the calculations were done correctly and that the position of the star that we're looking at is actually accurate. And this cannot go wrong. Basma.
Understood.
You brought everything, right?
Everything, yes. The calculations for the trajectory between the planetary body. I'm not entirely convinced it's a star, but you're the lead researcher here. I'm not. You don't have to take my notes. You don't have to take the feedback. You just take the note and move on. Here are the trajectory calculations. Here are the time of day calculations. Here are all of the potential, I think, moral objections that I think some of the imams might have to this particular discovery. And here's your draft of the letter to Wasim. You wanted me to?
Yeah. And Josefa like grabs that scroll and just kind of like folds it up and tucks it into their kurta. Yes, thank you. We don't need to go into details about that one. And Josefa is going to gesture to Basma to put all of the scrolls onto, I assume like inside there's like the office that Josefa usually works in, and there's a large circular table, I think, in the middle of it. And it has all of their instruments just kind of like laid out everywhere. And they kind of gesture for Basma to like put the scrolls down onto the table.
Yeah, she does.
As that happens, if I may, Melchior, still invisible to the mortal eye, mostly because she has made a vague note that perhaps her attire might cause some issues in the timeline, or at the very least some interpersonal issues with the equivalent of human resources. And they've decided to sneak into this office. They're peering over, reading the notes, actually reading them. Sure would be a shame if something happened to some of these. And she sneezes from the dust, and in doing so, a very heavy gust of wind comes through a window. It's like this beautiful chain effect. The window just is open, leaves all of this room for this wind to come in and knock over one instrument. And that instrument knocks over another instrument and another instrument and another instrument. And they bump into some of the scrolls quite violently, much more violently than wind would usually make anything move. It's almost like somebody kicked it, which is absolutely not what this invisible person did. Kicking some of the scrolls. So far, one of them has been punted. I don't know which one. One of them's been punted out the hall. Is rolling away rapidly.
Yeah, there's another proof of gold smoke as this chaos is happening. And Artemisia, I think, glitches in, right? And just goes, seriously? As Basma goes, no, oh no, I'm so sorry, Scholar Uzman, I should have closed all the windows in here.
We need to go get that immediately. And I think Josefa's just scrambling on the ground trying to grab all of the different scrolls that have fallen. But I imagine if one of them got punted out of the door, maybe Josefa didn't notice. Just did not notice that one of them has
absolutely
left.
I think drawing your attention to it, there's kind of a clunk noise from over the balcony, and then an old man's voice that is very familiar to you, Josefa, that sends a chill down your spine because the voice goes, ow! What the fuck was that? And it is the voice of none other than the vizier himself, Aziz. Vizier Aziz, who is known to be a very crass man in contrast to the caliph's very dignified countenance.
Josefa, hearing this, runs over to the balcony and just kind of peers over to see, more so just double checking out of disbelief that it is in fact Aziz, just going, no, please, don't beat them.
It's him. You see his shiny bald head from over the balcony shining like the sun itself. You know what I mean? He has a nickname called the Second Sun, I think, maybe in Baghdad, because he's got such a shiny head. Amongst all the other astronomers.
Rest in peace, this man's getting rinsed.
He's surrounded by his usual lackeys and goons, right, and his usual retinue of kind of sniveling court officials. And one of them has hastily scooped up this scroll. And if it's okay with you, I think it's the love letter, maybe, that fell out during the chaos and the bustle and the gust of wind, right? The scroll and
yeah.
What's that? One of this ridiculous scholar's lamentations, I bet. And you watch, I think perhaps in horror, as he begins to unfurl the scroll to look at it.
I think from on top of the balcony, Josefa just kind of originally they were just kind of peering, but just I think if you look from below, you just see their eyes peering over. But seeing that, their eyes go wide and they kind of scramble up over the balcony and go, Vizier Aziz! Hello! I didn't realize you would be here so soon.
Scholar Uzman. Yes, I always like to make a walkabout, roundabout the grounds, to make sure, of course, security is tight for the Caliph, who may or may not be in attendance tonight, depending on how good the, refreshments are. And his eyes fall on Basma's, hurriedly curated, I think, table of, fruits and nuts, that aren't super, they're not fit for a Caliph at all.
We brought dates, and there is lots of Sharbat as well for you and for the Caliph. I'm sure that they will enjoy it very much. The scroll in your hand, if you don't mind, just Josefa just kind of gestures for it, but is unsure how to get it because I imagine there's a height difference.
There is.
Here at
it's
this point.
15 feet between the balcony. Yeah.
He'd have to absolutely this 3-pointer, that thing.
Scholar
It's,
Uzman, do you mean to imply that I myself shall ascend to where you are? To deliver
No,
you this scroll?
Of course not. Of course not. I will be right there in 1 second. And Josefa just kind of like scurries over. I think just like as they're going, they're kind of just like scattering scrolls everywhere as well. At this point, they're so panicked. They want this letter, and for Aziz to not read it. So they're like running down the stairs as fast as they can.
There is a just like a deep like chuckle like in the hall. This 6 foot tall, relatively muscular, with just like a hint of comfort Pudge. And man with just this very strong jawline, big, very like round, dark eyes, mid-length, luscious is the best word for it, like dark curls, leans down and picks up another stray scroll that had probably either been in the original gust of wind or in your hurried steps knocked out of the room. A voice clears behind you and goes, "Excuse me, I believe this is yours." And they reach out to you to like with a very respectful little head nod, and that is a new scholar you might know. You might not have met before, but you've heard of his arrival. This is Umar, and Umar is also a very astrology scholar based, and is just somebody that the Institute's been very excited to have join.
Josefa's like running out, I think, at this point, and so they, at first, I think, almost don't even notice Umar there, and like maybe like accidentally like bump him as well as they go. But hearing the voice, they kind of like turn around and go, "Oh, thank you." And Josefa's like blushing a little bit as they take the scroll back, and they stand there for a second with the scroll like tucked against their chest, not really sure what to say. And then they remember, oh my god, wait, the letter. And then they just turn around and like continue on running. And they're like, over their shoulder, they're like, "Thank you again."
No problem.
Artemisia actually like turns to Melchior, who maybe both of us are like in like the awning at the top of the stairs, right, flanking either side of this new arrival. Artemisia goes, "Ugh, really? You're backing that horse? You do know that he will eventually be responsible through a series of unfortunate events for the fall of Baghdad, right?"
Who do you think set in motion the unfortunate events?
I knew there
Isn't
was
he just darling? Isn't he pretty?
Isn't he
Come
supposed to
on.
be an informant for the Mongol invasion later?
But isn't he beautiful? And the second plane of existence, Melchior is grouping chin. To Umar, it's like, oh yeah, I have the urge to kind of stretch a little bit. But what's actually happening is Melchior is just grabbing the face and just like, "Look at this face. Come on, Artemisia. She not your type."
No. I don't think you could guess my type if we had 10 millennia, which we unfortunately do.
Well, since we do, I guess I've got plenty of time.
It'll be like finding a needle in a cosmic haystack, darling. You'll never discover it.
Oh, don't be so hard on yourself. And like pets, I'm sure it's bigger than that. And like walks past Umar.
Yep. As you hurtle down the steps, Josefa, at the bottom of it is the vizier, who is just very like impatiently tapping a foot and like holding the scroll, like holds it out to you. "Is this how you run your research? Because if it is, I don't know if this is worth the caliph's time."
No. And as Josefa's coming, they're like trying to like smooth out their like silk kurta, like trying very hard to look presentable, because I assume in their rush, they've kind of like ruffled up their outfit a little bit. They're like taking the dupatta and kind of like readjusting it. No. Today is just a particularly windy day, it would seem, and we had not anticipated that, but I promise, Vizier Aziz, the presentation will go absolutely smoothly. The Caliph will be extremely pleased by the new discoveries, and I know that the scholars here at the House of Wisdom have not just made a have not really made a discovery for quite some time, but I promise this this is going to change that.
All right. Fine. Oh, have you met my wife, Damali? And he turns and gestures to a beautiful woman, right? Like next to him, like I think his servants fold away to like reveal her, right? She has got on this like beautiful kind of like silk robe just like draped down her body. She's got this like I think long curly brown hair that's like done down in like a down style, but like with tons of braids. And beautifully enough, there's like flowers and like gold threads woven through her hair as well. Definitely like way above, like Aziz is punching above his class here. Like the only reason he scored this woman is because he's the vizier. You know what I mean? Like there's no other way that she would have been with him. She like smiles at you, like inclines a head like respectfully, and says, the entire city has been buzzing about your discovery, this up-and-coming new astronomer. I'm excited to see what your presentation yields.
Thank you, Damali, if I may. And they also like respectfully nod at the wife. It's an honor to have you here, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed.
Of course.
Do you have much of an interest in astronomy?
Well, and cutting over her is Aziz. Oh, yes, of course she does. She's actually one of the most prominent scholars of the institution in Damascus. But we poached her, got her here, married to me, of course. Isn't she a lucky woman? There's nothing more important in this life. Above knowledge, my young, dear scholar, above knowledge, the most important thing in life is love. Is it not? And he, like, leans into his wife and kisses her on the cheek, and she just goes,
Josefa's, I think, visibly uncomfortable at this, but they can't really say anything about it, so they just kind of nod and say, yes, of course, love. After all, we... Yep. And I think they're just kind of like, they just can't think of anything to say, and they're like, I don't understand what's happening here.
Melchior is laughing and like leads over like to look behind them at Artemisia and goes, he's one of mine.
Artemisia goes, evidently, but she is one of mine. And the wife cuts in again and says, yes, isn't there a saying amongst us academics, the ink of a scholar is more holy than the blood of a martyr? But I'd like to amend that saying to add that perhaps the kiss of a lover, a true lover, one who values you, one who sees you for who you are, is the most holy of all, the thing that gets us the closest to God. And you get the feeling she's not talking about the vizier here. She's talking about someone else.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree more, actually, Tamali. And that, I think, like, reminds Josefa of the scroll that is currently in the vizier's hand, and they just kind of, like, awkwardly reach out. The scroll?
Yes, your little note, here you go. And the vizier, like, slaps the scroll into your hand, which, thankfully, he has not unfurled and read.
Thank you. I just would hate to ruin the surprise for you, just calculations and all of that. It would be a shame to see it before the presentation.
Oh, yes, of course, all you egghead academics, scholars. Yeah. Finish up your presentations here.
Egghead.
I think these I think these furnishings are sufficient, if not exceeds expectations for the Caliph. I'll send word for my men. Darling, do you like this place? Do you think it's good enough for the Caliph? Yes, my beloved. I think the Caliph will be more than happy with the furnishings here. Then it's decided. Yes, my wife has decreed it so. The Caliph will be in attendance tonight. You have, well, of course, until midnight to get everything in line.
Yes, and everything will be ready by then. In fact, everything will be ready even before then. You won't have to wait a single minute.
Good. Then I am off for, I'm just gonna take a roundabout the grounds, busy vizier stuff. Keep up the work and we will be back in just a few hours. I can't wait to see what your presentation yields.
Yes, of course. And if you would like to see any of the library, any of the instruments, and I think Josefa's more so talking to the wife than to the vizier at this point. If you would like to see any of the instruments, get a behind the curtain look at how we scholars do our work, I would be more than happy to give you a tour.
That doesn't sound... You know, darling, if you don't mind going on ahead, I'll join you in the gardens later. I would love to take a look at your instruments. Oh, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, why not? Just don't make a move on my wife, if you know what I mean. And he's like laughing and clapping you on the back.
Joseph is just awkwardly laughing, like, yeah, no, I would never.
Yeah. One shall not covet another man's wife, you know what I mean? If you do, I will end your academic career and your life, and I'll chase you out of Baghdad. And he's like laughing and clapping you on the back.
Right, yeah, right. Oh, that would be
that'd be awful,
wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, I'd put your, All right, I'm off to smell some flowers.
boy.
Oh, actually. What?
I said I'm off to smell some flowers.
That's what I said as well. Yes, enjoy your flowers.
All right. Well, my lovely, my darling, my sweet jewel of my eye. Enjoy your time with all these, and you get the sense he's not academic at all, scholarly pursuits. Join me in the garden, just a few hours later for some, tea and coffee. And he begins to turn to leave.
And as you guys are probably turning back towards the building, that very dulcet, calm, smooth voice comes out again. And Umar walks out, having been genuinely captivated by you, Josefa, and is just very curious and has decided to forego the initial walk around self-guided tour, so to say, to see who you are and what you're up to. And you hear, "Excuse me, I don't believe I introduced myself. Umar Abdul, I am here as a new scholar." And then recognizes the vizier's wife and does a very respectful head bow and is just like, my apologies, I didn't mean to interrupt anything.
Oh, you're not interrupting. I was just about to give Tamali here a tour of our facilities and the library. I mean,
Would
you're
you like
welcome
to join us on this tour?
Oh, I would be honored if you would have me. Thank you. I was about to do a little self-guided tour, but I feel having an expert is much more valuable.
Oh, I don't know if I would call myself an expert per se, but that's very generous of you.
The city has been clamoring about your academic prestige and, your essay, The Treatise of Stars, that circulated around the city. For weeks, everyone was buzzing about it. I got my hands on a copy and read one myself. You're quite the brilliant mind.
Wow, I didn't realize that someone so high up would have read something like that. Your husband mentioned that you were also an astronomer, also a scholar from Damascus.
Yes. In Damascus, yes, I was one of the top scholars there. I don't mean to brag, but it was my entire career, my livelihood. And then, well, you know how Damascus is now. It's not... It used to be... Well, Baghdad is much better now. And I was... She pauses. Privileged. And fortunate enough that the vizier took an interest in my family, and we were wed last fall. And now I have the opportunity to enjoy, I think, the scholarly pursuits of Baghdad, though, of course, my current preoccupations lie with bolstering my husband's, I think, political career.
How have I never heard of you before? I would have figured that someone from Damascus, a top scholar, certainly I would have read some of your works at some point. What did you work on?
I worked under a pen name. Perhaps you might have heard of it. Suhaila?
That was you. You were the one who determined the rotation of the axis of the Earth around the sun. That was you?
Well, yes. Actually, the idea for it came to me after I witnessed a fig fall from a fig tree.
Wow, and you can see Josefa's turned into fangirl mode a little bit. They're just like, oh my god, I am standing here with one of the most prominent astronomers of our time. And they're just kind of like, oh, you have to tell me, how exactly did you know that in order to do the calculation, you would have to change the trajectory of your instruments?
Sometimes it takes a little bit of out-of-box thinking to make a true breakthrough when it comes to our discoveries. I was really butting my head against the wall for weeks on end there with my calculations. Something just wasn't coming through. And then I took a stroll about the gardens. I saw the fig fall, and that just awokened something in me. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful and pragmatic with my advice, but inspiration strikes when it does.
Of course, no, that makes perfect sense. After all, I suppose genius comes where it may. You would love our library. There are so many texts that I think would interest you. If you wanted more regular access to, I can't see why not.
I very, very much appreciate that. Being the vizier's wife does open most doors in this city, if not all, but having perhaps some pointers toward the more eclectic texts the most laymen wouldn't know about, I think would be much appreciated.
Yes, of course. And Basmat, I assume the RA has just kind of
been along, yes,
jogging
this entire
along.
time. Yep.
Yeah, she's just kind of here, maybe like arms like full of scrolls from before. Basmat, you know the one text about comets? About the passing of comets every...
Yes, the passing of comets. The one that Wasim showed you?
Yes.
There's a pause. And then Damali says, Wasim. You know Wasim?
Do you know Wasim?
One of my most prominent pastimes right now here in Baghdad is actually, as she looks at both you, Huzaifa, and you, Umar, being a patron to some of our best scholars here. I do believe that gold is best spent supporting the ink of scholars. Wasim is one of my more recent, I think, discoveries. I've been patronizing them for a couple of weeks now. They seem a little torn up, though, about something. A little distracted as of late.
I can't imagine why, although I'm sure
that's because Scholar Uzman here and Wasim, and you know your RA is literally about to spill the beans. Literally about to tell.
Yes, Basmat, yes, the life of a... We worked together, actually. Wasim and I, we were co-authors on a text together, and it was a very taxing time for the both of us, and I think the fact that we were unable to finish the paper is what may be causing them to be a little bit withdrawn at the moment, but I'm sure that will change.
I see. Well, that's unfortunate. Academic disagreements are so... Oh, and they were lovers. Mm-hmm. They were lovers.
Umar chokes. Yes. Perhaps it might not be in the best form to push Skylar Usman to discuss personal matters in front of company.
Yes, thank you, Umar. That I believe Umar has a point in that those matters were not relevant to our academic pursuits, and so I'm not sure that it's relevant to your patronage of Wasim either.
Oh, it might be relevant. They did it all over this place. They'll knock things over, instruments there. They broke, I had to cover with my stipend from the academy. One of the sundials you broke while you were busy. I think I get the picture here. Damali cuts in. She looks at you, and this potential patron, which would be huge for your career, which is hinging on this presentation. If it doesn't go well, you need a freaking patron to, sponsor what you're doing. I see. Well, Huzaifa, if I may have a word in private?
And Umar turns to Basmat and goes, is there anything perhaps that you and I could do to assist Scholar Usman in preparations for tonight?
Yes, we should get more of those foodstuffs and set up a better, welcoming platter, because the caliph's coming.
Right, absolutely. I shall go see what we have. Perhaps I will be able to have something sent over. Excuse me. And like nods to the vizier's wife and nods to you, and just goes to your presentation area and starts to help set things up.
So does Basma. You just sort of hear Basma like enjoying the opportunity to have like what she thinks is a lackey to bully around and be like, no, you're arranging the silverware, the plates, they need to go here. It's most fortuitous. We should point these things in the direction of Mecca. That's the wrong. And like she's like sort of like just sorting these things to make them the most like appropriate for the caliph's arrival. Yep.
Melchior's got like two like pumps slung over their shoulder because there's no reason to keep them on. Nobody can see me. It's just padding around a little barefoot. Has the shoes over the shoulder. They're inappropriate for the timeline anyway. And is just padding along, looking around and just going, you know, he's almost too nice to be one of mine. It's a little disgusting.
No, he's definitely one of yours. Again, shall I repeat, informant to the Mongol invasion that causes the end of the Islamic Golden Age?
I mean, you say that as if you forget how weird human beings are. And get a little poke to the chest is like, isn't your favorite thing about them that in everyone there is some good? Well, in every human, of course. And you get another sharp nail. It's not sharp painful. It's just like, you know what the tip of a nail feels like.
Yep.
Scrapes along like the collar of your attire. Isn't it interesting how somebody who is going to facilitate such evil, such horror, is also just a person? Isn't that the most disgusting thing about these little creatures?
I would say it's the most wonderful thing about these little creatures, as you refer to them. Humans are our creator's greatest, I think, creations.
Ugh.
Unfortunately, and yours, Umar's soul is not the one up for judgment here. Theirs is. And like she looks up, like from where Umar and like Basma are like bustling around setting things up, to the top of the stairs where Damali and Huzaifa have squirreled away to speak in private. You're probably aware of this already, but your former research partner will be in attendance here as well. Will you be all right?
I think like maybe the sun has already set at this point and it is now nighttime, so the stars are starting to show up in the sky, and in the distance you would have heard like the fourth call to prayer like Maghrib going like far off into the distance from the nearest mosque. And normally the sound is very comforting to Josefa, but for some reason today it kind of has like a little bit of an ominous feel to it, as if it's calling to disaster that is about to happen. And they're just like trying to steel themselves as they're walking along with Damali, trying to be like, okay, everything's gonna be fine. And when she asks this question, they just kind of like fix their glasses nervously. Everything will be okay, I'm sure. Wasim will be in attendance simply because he is another scholar here in the House of Wisdom, but I don't think that he will be particularly vocal about everything. Should not be an issue.
She seems to pick up on your nerves and actually raises a hand and places it on your shoulder and says, "Peace. The presentation will go well. Trust your brilliant mind."
And Josefa kind of like looks at the hand and then looks back at the wife and is like blushing a little bit. Thank you. I really appreciate that, especially from somebody as well studied as yourself. Actually, it would really help me if you looked over some of my notes maybe and were able to confirm some of my findings, just to calm my nerves, of course, if you're interested.
Of course. And I think as she goes over to look at your notes, back down below the balcony area, Melchior, you just hear Artemisia go, "Hook." And then the vizier's wife says, "Wait a minute, these calculations," and then you hear her go, "Line." And she goes, "Oh, there's a mistake here. I don't think this is a star." And Artemisia goes, "Sinker." And she goes, "I think this is a planet."
planet. No. That can't be correct. It is the planetary body that other planetary bodies are rotating around. It can't possibly be a planet unless...
No, I think those are just meteorites. Look, here, your calculation about the trajectory of its orbit. And she, like, points out, like, one of, like, your really long formulas that took you, like, maybe 3 sleepless days and nights to work out. And she points out a mistake. Just a real small one. Like, almost like a footnote of a mistake. But that throws off the entire formula. And, like, disproves that it could possibly be a star.
I think maybe it's like, you know when you're doing calculus and you forgot to take the sign, like the negative sign, and then like transfer it over? So I think maybe it's something extremely silly like that has happened, but it happened at a point where it will ruin literally everything else that comes after it. And Josefa just kind of looks down at the scroll. Like, what? And then like picks it up and then like looks at it real close.
Yeah.
What? No. No. And then they pull out from their pocket an astrolabe, which is like this flat circular device that has like wire and etchings of the planetary like bodies on it that is used by astronomers for like precise astronomical calculations and like positions of different bodies. Like slams it onto the table and is like looking in between from the astrolabe to the scroll being like, no, I looked over these calculations so many. No. Wait.
And at this, Umar comes rushing in because you guys are very loud and these are very echoey hallways. And is just rushing in full of concern, like, is everything okay? I heard a disturbance. Is everything all right? Is everybody, and like is like kind of visually like taking stock of everybody.
Everything's great. Josefa, this isn't scary at all. I mean, that miscalculation means that, well, of course it means that perhaps 30% of these notes don't mean anything at all, but the other 70%, I mean, you know what this means, right? It's not a star, it's a planet. And not just that, but it's a planet that orbits around our sun. It's a 9th planet, if you will.
I worked so hard for these calculations. Do you think that the Caliph is going to overlook the fact that 30% of the work is useless?
When I was calculating and I saw that fig fall, I had to redo 3 years worth of work. But it was all worth it. This isn't worthless. This is what you needed to go through to create this. And she pushes the rest of your, like, 70% of the work toward you.
I have to change my entire presentation.
You have an hour or 2. Better get on it.
Okay.
I offer my humble assistance transcribing anything that you would require.
Umar, you are a lifesaver. Yes, any help that anyone can offer is going to be extremely necessary right now. Okay, come here. And Josefa grabs Umar's hand and pulls him towards like a blackboard where there's a whole bunch of just like
Small
notes.
blush. Just a little one.
Where there's just a whole bunch of notes written about like the presentation. A lot of them are kind of stylistic notes about like pause here, eye contact here, and it's just like about like how to do the presentation. And ignoring that, Josefa was just like, okay, so we need to change the introduction because right now I make a star pun and I think I need to change that to a planet pun.
You know, I have just heard this wonderful planet jokes, and then just starts like wiping it away and scribbling for you in the most clear, like print, legible, like absolutely no style to it whatsoever. Just very pragmatic. Please make sure you can read my handwriting.
Yes. Okay. And I think if we make them laugh here and then make them cry later on when we talk about how the planet represents our love of God and our relationship to the stars, I think
I mean, I
Caliph-
think it could work. I mean, you getting this discovery is a gift from God who allowed you to make this discovery and led to this fortuitous meeting of you and Madam Scholar over there, or who was formerly here. I'm not sure where she is. These are all our fortuitous events, and of course, our meeting. I
Yes.
consider a very fortuitous event. And
That's
he's like
brilliant.
writing and transcribing for you and like editing for you according to your notes. And he goes, I know this is perhaps not the best time, but I was wondering if perhaps you would take tea with me sometime this week. And he's like not looking at you. It's like he's like a little nervous. And he's just like scribbling away. His like, ears are a little red.
Tea, of course, sure. When we have a lunch break, and I think Josefa's just kind of like also writing on the board. When we have a lunch break tomorrow, probably, I think I have time. And they don't realize like why, like the purpose of this tea. I think they're kind of treating this as like, oh, it's another scholar who just wants to chat and like talk about academic things. And so they're just kind of absentmindedly just agreeing because they're like, yeah, I would love to chat with another astronomer.
As you agree with no romantic intention, Artemisia, still like down in like the observatory area, turns to Melchior and says, "It doesn't count if they don't know what it's for."
Melchior just like smiles and isn't saying anything, but it's just like looking at Artemisia in like a way that was probably very unsettling because Melchior is smiling.
If I may, Josefa is naming this body, which they thought was a star and is actually a planet, after Wasim, after their ex. And that section of the presentation maybe gets a little bit flowery. It's like coded language in a way to essentially like talk to Wasim, who they always knew was going to be in the audience, to kind of hint at like, this is for you, but without saying it explicitly, obviously, in an academic presentation. And I think maybe Omar goes to like edit that part of the presentation, and Josefa goes, no, that part actually I think should stay the same.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. You will know your, planetary body, I suppose we should start saying instead of star. And then all Umar wipes away is the word star wherever it pops up and writes planet. I have great respect for people who can have respect for experiences and people in their lives and the roles that they have played and served, regardless of their undoing.
Yes, this is mostly because, Wasim's calculations and research from the past was actually kind of instrumental to finding this planet, and I would just be remiss to not credit them in some way.
Of course.
And Josefa's just kind of like awkwardly running their hand through their hair, very uncomfortable.
Sometimes things, like with your missed calculations, sometimes things are just the stepping stones we need to bring us to the actual real experience or people. Like the vizier's wife. She could be a very wonderful patron for you. You'd be most deserving of it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, she certainly, I think, could take multiple patrons, and if you continue here in the House of Wisdom, I'm sure that you will also be able to get such patronage.
I'm not worried about that. I have my patron back at home. My mother actually. It's a very good question. It's a very good question for Brandy, whose timeline is all messed up mentally, and is just like, ooh, that wasn't a country yet. Nope, that was not a country yet. 1 second.
You can just make something up.
Yes, it's a country of, and that's a word, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, no, of course you've heard.
They
of
have
it.
really good tea over there, actually.
They really do. That's and I brought some with me, so that'll be what we get to enjoy tomorrow. And I very much look forward to getting to know you. And I hope I have not been too forward. However, when I am, on the rare occasion that somebody is truly captivating in every way, I would be remiss to not pursue them.
Oh, I didn't realize that and Josefa's voice is like lowered at this point, and they've kind of like leaned in a little bit to Umar. I didn't realize that the vizier's wife had such a impact on you.
Huh?
You understand that you can't pursue her, right?
Oh God!
you're-
Oh no! Oh!
He's a power. I know
No.
that she doesn't really
no,
seem
the-
to be in
not
love
the
with him,
vizier's
but
wife.
he's a
Not
powerful
the vizier's
man.
wife. Not the vizier's wife. No. You're brilliant. I've been reading your work since you first started publishing. I was extremely excited when I was told I'd be able to come work here, where I know many forms of Reginus have sprung. And as we've witnessed, I mean, you discovered an entire planet. Congratulations, by the way. I don't think anybody actually said that yet. No, you.
Oh,
But I am a very patient man, and I have nothing but respect for you. I would like to get to know you better at a steady or slow pace. If you're open to that, even just exploring.
I didn't realize. I really thought you meant.
Oh yes, I mean, she is a very wonderful scholar, absolutely. But I would never pursue a married woman.
I will.
The Caliph has arrived!
For fuck's sakes, Connie!
And interrupting your response, Josefa, the doors slam open, and there's like, I think music, like, just flows into the observatory.
From
There are musicians and dancers. There are suddenly dancers. There are dancers in this space.
Artemisia is
Yes.
breaking the
There
laws
are
of
dancers.
physics, and Melchior is just like leaning back. Isn't even upset. Melchior is just like, heh.
What?
They brought dancers to a library.
They brought dancers to a library.
Like, really?
There's
You-
music.
you know?
The vizier arranged this. You know what? Like, I do
Sure.
have a feeling the Caliph isn't as tacky. We see like flamingos. There are flamingos walking through the space now. And you see a tiger on a leash. A tiger is now just freely roaming in the observatory. And then I think all of this, like this crowd of dancers and servants and musicians, like pass to reveal the vizier, who's kind of sniveling, like like being like very like gratifying, at the crouch at the side of the Caliph themselves. They're not a very tall person, perhaps of middling height, only 5'6", maybe 5'7". They've got a very, I think, like kind of like thin, austere face. They ascended to power very young, but they are very cunning and very wise already, so no one really discounts them on the basis of their age. They're only in their like mid to late 30s here, and draped in these like extremely like decadent, like beautiful silk robes that still don't seem ostentatious. Even though they're surrounded by all these flamingos, they seem very, I think, like dignified and put together, right? And like the vizier goes, oh yes, and you see, like the food is to your liking, I hope, and up there's my wife. She's coming down the stairwell now, and it's just sort of like bumbling on and getting him to a seat. And the Caliph begins to take a seat, and you also notice like the Caliph came in first, and a bunch of other like attendees also begin coming into the room. It's almost time.
Yep. No, Umar just like recognizes this and goes, above all things, your genius is something to be honored and revered, and it's time to shine. So let me know how I can assist you, and I will do everything in my power to do so. I think these edits are mostly done. I think the presentation should be ready, and you will do magnificently, as I'm sure God will allow.
Thank you for all of your help, Umar. And yes, we will talk about tea afterwards.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I think the actual presentation is maybe happening in like a planetarium-esque kind of room. So there's like this like big dome ceiling with like a mural or paintings of the different constellations of the night sky kind of painted up there. A attempt at like the most accurate positioning that they can get. Maybe like for this season, maybe it's like one that like rotates every season as the stars like change their positioning in the sky. And there's this like stage kind of area at the front where Josefa will stand up, and they have all of their scrolls kind of like laid out in front of them on a table. And I think Bosma is like there as well, ready to sort of like change out the scrolls like as they're talking, kind of like flashcard style,
Yes, for
like
sure.
just there. So she's just like gonna like scramble up on stage and like back down stage, while everyone else is kind of seated at the lower level.
I have a question about Artemisia, actually. Are you in the crowd? Like, are you sitting as if to watch the...
Maybe are we like we're in like the front row, right? In like
Yes,
two
yes,
like
yes.
conveniently forgotten seats.
You are in a seat.
Ooh.
Melchior is approaching the seat and is just like kind of just stretching, is taking their hair down and is like, Artemisia, desperation is a surprisingly good look on you. I quite liked it.
I thought the vizier was one of yours.
Dirty, dirty trick, taking one of my people and giving them some divine inspiration.
Perhaps I did
And,
inflict his dreams with a pink feathered fowl last night, but that's neither here nor there.
The devilishness looks good. Looks good. And Melchior sits on Artemisia's lap. And it's just waiting. It's just like, but not like far back. It's just like on the knees. And it's just like comfortable. And it's just sitting there and waiting. I mean, demons, whatever. It's just basically floating there. It's just sitting there. And it's like, are you ready for the presentation?
Wrong needle, wrong haystack. You're not my type, love.
Oh, please. As if you'd be mine. I like irritating you.
Desperation isn't a good look on you, Melchior, unlike me.
Please. For what? The needle? I'll be okay. And it's just like sitting there and it's comfy. It's not gonna move. It's just like, yeah, this is definitely bugging Artemisia. I'm
Believe
gonna
me,
continue doing this.
I am packing much more than just a needle. And I think that's when like the lights, gotta go
Lights
down.
just
Yeah,
gotta go
or
down.
whatever. I don't know. Like you see Bosma like toggling with some sort of like shutter, like pulling on a pulley system.
Straight up,
Like,
yeah. There's like each hand has like a different pulley.
Yeah,
There's
double
smoke
fisting
from
these
some
pulleys.
dry ice that like they had imported in and maybe discovered. I don't know when dry ice was created.
Yeah, there's fog. It just all
fog,
fog.
like-
It's very TED Talk style.
Oh my
Spotlight
god.
is like a glass that has like just like been like has like a little lid cut out. And there's like a candle in it that's just like
yeah. For the spotlight, yeah.
flowing on the candle,
Bosma's
making
running
it bigger.
everything. Bosma's the Twitch
Absolutely.
producer here.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Someone pay her more.
Please, someone pay her. I feel like she's not paid. I feel like
She's
that's
definitely
like
not
an
paid.
intern.
She gets like a
is an
stipend
intern.
every month. Yeah. So Huzaifa, take us through your presentation.
Huzaifa walks on stage, I think like very hurriedly, and then like stiffly stands in the middle of the stage, like perfectly dead center in the stage. This like smoke roiling off the bottom, covering their feet and like their shins. And they grab one of the scrolls on the table, kind of like flap it, clear their throat. Welcome everyone to my presentation about planetary bodies. I have made a new discovery over today. Not today. This happened over the course of multiple months of research. I have spent so long using calculus and all of the astronomical tools at our disposal here. And they gesture very awkwardly around.
That moment when none of the streamers do very well in math. It's all the math at my disposal.
At the House of Wisdom in order to find a new body. I understand we are all worried that the House of Wisdom has not come out with anything new for quite some time. The international scholars are starting to look down on us, but I promise this will change everything. And they put down one of the scrolls. I think Bosma comes, switches them out.
Yeah.
They take another one.
The slides.
And I would like to present to you our new planet, Wasim. And I think they just like turn and Bosma's like behind them with this very large scroll, I think, with like a picture of the planetary bodies like in orbit, essentially. And one of them is like labeled with like a highlighter, I think. And there's like an arrow pointing to it. And it's labeled Wasim.
And as you say Wasim, I think your eye cuts through the audience and you see them. Wasim Blutu, sitting toward the back. This beautiful man. He is so handsome. Like every day you've spent away from him, he's grown more handsome. He has a beard now. He has a freaking beard now, and it's like trimmed down, like accentuates his like his jawline. He's got this like short hair, this like dark brown skin. He very much looks like, I think, like a modern model. You know what I mean? Like someone who could like be on a runway but has like musculature to him, because he's always said that he's not just a scholar. You know, he's also like he's also an athlete, face. Right? So he likes to, you know, keeps after his body, and he's like looking. He's like got these robes on. He raises like a perfectly coiffed eyebrow underneath his like his hair, which is up and back and like cut short on the sides, kind of like a pre-modern fade that he's got going on, like going all the way up. He's looking up at the presentation, cocks an eyebrow, and like his eyes like fall on the name like Wasim, right?
People in the audience, great esteemed guests. As you can see here, this planet, it is not only another planet, but it is another planet in our solar system. It is part of our life, interconnected with all of the other planets, revolving around our sun. And for that, we cannot simply ignore it. It is there in our sky. Now, this planet, it is smaller than all of the others. Some call it, I believe the term that we have agreed upon as a community is dwarf planet, but we must not let that deceive us, for it may be dwarf in size, but it is not dwarf in heart, I mean in importance. This planet, it may hold life. We do not know at this time, as I have only just now discovered it. But there is the potential for it to hold life, for it to hold my life, and your life, and everyone's life here. The planet, Wasi.
There's applause, right? Like polite applause at first, and people are like,
Umar is
muttering.
leading applause.
Yes. Everyone's clapping along with Umar, but there's like muttering, you know, people are like, what? Like this would be a fucking huge discovery. Because up until this point, everyone thought there were only 8 planets, right? And like some people are like grumbling, like some rival scholars are like crossing their arms, like, oh, this is bullshit, you know, like looking around. But you see Damali, the vizier's wife, in the front row, like next to the caliph, whose face is inscrutable. You have no idea what they're thinking. And the vizier, who's like looking at the caliph to take social cues from, like doesn't know like how to respond to this quite yet. But Damali, like a look of recognition comes over her face, like she's reading between the lines, right, of like your presentation. She's looking toward the back, toward where Wasim is, and looking at you. And like Basma actually just puts her scrolls down and just addresses the audience. The scholar that I've been assisting, Scholar Usman, here wants to say to the planet, Wasim, they love you. They've always loved you, the planet. They will always love you. They have loved you, the planet. And they want a second chance with the planet.
Yes, the planet.
God.
The planet is a very important discovery. It has changed all of our lives for the better.
It has a beautiful front side and back side. Would you not agree here, Scholar Usman?
There's some very concerned muttering now amongst the peers about like what the actual fuck is happening on stage right now, and who is this very noisy intern? What the actual fuck? There's just like confusion in the crowd. Umar is trying his best to kind of like get people to shut up, because it's just probably very awkward for everyone. It's just like, you know, please, this is the presentation. Yes, absolutely. Planets have wonderful all sides, because they're round. Umar is not the most advanced scholar, bless him, but he's trying. There's just like resounding, for fuck's sake, seem to come out of thin air, and you just see like on the other plane of existence, Melchior, still on a lap, is just pouting. And it's
I
just
think
like, really?
that devils like you would enjoy this kind of chaos.
I enjoy causing chaos. Common misconception. We don't like being in it.
You don't like being on the brunt end of it, huh? Well, here's a taste of your own medicine.
Careful. I would have thought that was an innuendo.
I played with fire last time. I can play with it again this time.
Ooh. And Melchior's just eyes him and is very grateful that like Artemisia is behind Melchior and cannot see their face and is just like And Melchior decides to move the telescope 2 degrees. It's just enough you wouldn't be able to see it, but you can also through it no longer find the planet.
Right, it's like shifted away in the middle of the chaos as Bosma's.
So when people are going to go look for it, they're not going to find it.
Ooh, everyone's talking, everyone's murmuring. Bosma like whispers up at you, Huzaifa.
Now's your chance. Wasim's not gonna pay attention to you outside of this. You gotta get him back.
Ouch.
So, and now that we have discussed the existence of this planet, I would like to invite you all to my telescope to see it for yourself. After all, seeing is believing. And I would like for you all to experience this gift that God has bestowed upon our great library. Caliph, would you like to start?
The Caliph begins to rise out of their seat, but the Vizier goes,
Oh, Caliph, perhaps I should be the first one to, warm up the eye of the telescope for you.
You know what I mean? I'm just gotta make sure that, well, if there's nothing there, Huzaifa, and you waste the Caliph's time, I just want to make sure there is something there first for the Caliph to see, an egg on my face and yours if there isn't.
No, there certainly is. We checked multiple times. It is there.
Yes, we did.
All right, then you certainly won't mind if the Vizier goes first to warm it up for the Caliph.
I suppose not.
And people start lining up, like behind the Caliph to like look at it. And you even see Wasim like stand up and like carefully skirt the circumference of the planetarium. And like he's not joining the lineup, but he's observing, like looking, like, is there actually a planet? The Vizier goes up, presses his ear against, not his ear. Wait, he presses his ear against it.
Blood though.
Oh wait, hold on. And he turns and he looks through it.
His wife just being like, your eye, my darling, your eye.
Oh my, huh? Oh, well, yeah, Oh, what am I looking at here? I see a lot of stars. Where is it?
It should be a small speck in the top right corner of your vision. It has some blue striations on it. It's not emitting any light, so don't look at the stars.
There's silence as every scholar who's worth their salt in Baghdad, every astronomer has attended. They hold their breath as the Vizier looks through this telescope. Artemisia says, well, if he admits he doesn't see anything, there's a chance for Uzman to correct the mistake you made. I see it. It's there. Yep. I wasn't classically trained in scholarship, but I see it. Yep. And the Vizier, to save face, right, pretends he can see something that's not there. He straightens up and nods. It's beautiful. And you see Artemisia just sort of wrapping her fingers against the armrest. You're lucky it's against the Order's rules to interfere directly with an intervention the other has interjected, so I can't move that telescope back even if I wanted to, which I very much do.
It's all right. I'm sure you can think of something else to do.
The Caliph begins to rise and begins to stride forward.
Kill him?
No, I'm not so pig-headed as to do that quite yet. It's like in bullet time, right? As the Caliph walks toward the telescope that you, Huzaifa, have no idea, there's no reason for you to doubt it, right? Caliph walks forward, and then, cutting through everything, Wasim's voice.
Oh boy.
Pardon me. Hi, I don't mean to interrupt at all, Grand Caliph, but, Vizier, not to doubt your intellectual prowess, but it might make sense for an astronomer of the Academy here to take a look first, if only to portray that all are equal under the rigors of academia.
You get like a scholar being like, "Are you trying to butt in front of the caliph, dude?"
Certainly not. But I believe we all know that where a second sun shines, perhaps our eyes might be clouded. And the vizier is not popular in the scholarly community here at all. He's like definitely very bullheaded. I think maybe there's some like laughter, there's some like giggling, and the vizier goes, huh? Like it's going over his head. And the caliph at that even smiles a little bit, seems to be on the fence about whether or not Wasim should go first. But Wasim looks at you, Huzaifa, and says, "It is, of course, your call. Who should be the next person to peer through the telescope?"
Perhaps I might offer my services. I have been assisting you consistently.
Oh, you have a new scholarly partner?
I think scholarly partner is a bit of a strong term. Umar and I just met today, actually, and he was
so
a lot of help
soon.
with the presentation.
That's rather fast, even for you, don't you think?
Umar like clears his throat and it goes, the admirable and ever-wise scholar Usman has been very kind to me, just gave me a tour, and I would hesitate to question their judgment, especially in such an important forum. I will happily assist you if you would like.
And I would also happily assist you, Scholar Usman. It appears you have a choice to make.
Okay.
I think maybe like there's
Umar
like
looks so
Umar,
confused.
Umar
is
on the
like-
stage, and Wasim in the audience, right? And Artemisia just goes like underneath your lap. I do love a dramatic choice at the 11th hour.
There's a little bit of devil in you yet. Maybe you're not quite so boring.
I think Josefa looks a little bit like a deer caught in headlights. In their head, they had this like perfect plan. They were gonna confess to Wasim secretly. It was gonna go great. The caliph was gonna be so impressed. They were gonna get the patronage that they wanted and their lover back. And now Umar is here as well. And they are confused. I think they start walking towards Umar and they extend out a hand to Umar.
Umar will absolutely like take it the most respectful way possible. And it's just like, Scholar Usman.
And then they will continue walking over towards Wasim.
The crowd
And
is so
take-
confused.
Put out their other hand for Wasim.
Wasim raises like a moisturized hand.
Seems
Pauses.
a dick. Jesus.
No, Wasim takes care of his body. I don't know what you want to say. His
No,
body's
no,
a
no,
fucking
I mean
thing.
the hesitation.
Specialized
It's like,
moisturized.
Specialized moisture. I'm sorry. I just want to
just like,
he,
oh yes.
he has a rigorous
may touch my-
skincare regimen. Rigorous.
Expect.
Takes your hand.
Josefa is just going to kind of like look at both of them. You have both been very kind to me in different ways. Wasim, I don't think that it's fair of you to say that it's been so quick, given that I have heard the way that you have been talking about me to the other scholars, and I think it is a little unfair.
Josefa, we didn't exactly end our academic partnership on the best terms, given the fact that the paper didn't work out.
Yes, the paper had some issues that came up
Yes,
that we
it had
did
a
not
lot
anticipate.
of issues. Like the fact that the paper never told the other paper that they were not satisfied with how the paper was coming along and decided to hold on to resentment instead of talking about it with the other paper.
Maybe the paper had some issues feeling comfortable in discussing those hesitations because the other paper was always so steamrolly in the way that they talked.
Well, maybe the other paper was a little steamrolly in the way they talked because the other paper was a little bit of a doormat.
Umar will clear his throat and be like, let me save us the trouble. I am the only person who can hear you, and I am very aware that the papers do not speak. Please speak freely. I would never, and like turns to Josefan is like, I would never want you to feel as if you cannot speak freely in front of me. I also would say that as far as I may, I'm not entirely sure that this is the venue for this grievance, apparently. And I would strongly advise, and like turns to Wasim, not being disrespectful.
Disrespectful? You're new here, so I do not fault you for not knowing your place. Huzefa, to speak plainly, as Scholar Abdullah here has suggested, I regret the way we ended things. And I regret the way I treated you in our relationship and the way you treated me. Neither of us were blameless, yes?
Yes, I can at least agree with that.
I shouldn't have gone around to the other scholars and disparaged your work and tried to turn them against you. That was below the belt. I shouldn't have spread the rumor that you were not allergic to shellfish and then allowed your peers to serve you a shellfish dinner during the anniversary celebration of your career here. That was me.
I almost died. I hope you know.
I know. That was a little far. That was Umar. But naming this planet after me, even after everything we've been through, after the way I've mistreated you, I've misjudged you.
Renaming the planet.
I've misjudged you. I realize now that I've mistreated you very deeply, and maybe we can give it a good old-fashioned try again.
Umar looks horrified. Just openly, absolutely horrified.
I know scholars, we can often be such romantics. We think that love just falls into our laps conveniently. He turns toward you at that, Umar. But the truth is, just like mathematics, like arithmetic, like astronomy, like calculus, love takes hard work, takes iteration. Sometimes we make a simple mistake, and that messes everything up. Sometimes we repeat our mistakes, but we can never excel at it if we don't try.
The simple mistake of attempted murder. Or slander. Ah, yes, those simple mistakes.
Just completely ignoring Umar. Isn't that right?
If I may add,
aren't you the one who told me? I think maybe you're just talking over each other.
They are talking over each other.
That love is calculus. Let's recalibrate our instruments.
The way that calculus has slandered me to my companions, I shall never forget. I think there is a difference, excuse me, if I may say, between love needing work or even affection needing work to blossom, which means it requires effort and attention and care and listening. I think that is often something sometimes people hide behind to excuse things that are not hard work, but rather laziness, ill-attentive manners, and pettiness. Perhaps some people would benefit from growth alone, spending time with God and the sciences, and growing sustainably into...
Do love and knowledge not bring us closer to God, Scholar Abdullah?
Of course they do, when used and employed with kindness and respect.
Well, the only person here who I think is fit to judge would be the presenter.
Absolutely.
think that Umar has a point, Wasim, in that you have done terrible things to me since our relationship ended, and if we are to try again, fix this miscalculation, if you would like to call it such, I would like a show of devotion, a show of your desire to recalibrate our instruments. Fix the fact that this entire room thinks that I have been faking all of my research, because that is what you told them. Fix that mistake, and we can maybe talk. So,
in this time, I'd like to point out that the Caliph has gotten very impatient is very confused, is not one for these dallies, and has leaned down to the telescope and is looking through it.
And I think there's a moment to interrupt all this, and the Caliph goes, I don't see it.
Josefa turns around, like whips around, and looks horrified at that. Josefa's thought process is that the Caliph just probably doesn't know what they're looking for, but doesn't know how to say that without offending.
Like, offend, yeah.
Yeah,
It's okay. Umar doesn't mind offending. Umar is rushing forwards, bowing to the Caliph, checking it, and then looking at you in horror because he can't see it either. And he says, at times when people use the telescope and is like gesturing to you to come over here, at times, so, you know, it can easily be misaligned. It can be easily misadjusted. Let me see, and is like trying to frantically look between you for guidance, between your notes to see if he can skim really quickly what degree it needs to be calibrated to, and is just like turning the dial and trying to find this planet. Wasim, this planet.
Yep. Meanwhile, the Caliph goes, there have been rumors of forgery and pretensions of work. As you say, scholar, Uzman, seeing is believing, but I don't believe I've seen it.
Those rumors are nothing but that. They are baseless rumors. And Josefa kind of turns to Wasim at that and like gives them a look like...
Yeah, as Umar's like desperately starting to correct the course of the telescope, all eyes turn to Wasim. And you know Wasim. Wasim cares, there was only one thing Wasim cared about more than you when you were together, which was his reputation. So you look at him and he's like a rabbit caught like in the crosshairs of an archer, right? Looking around, all these other scholars are turning and like, is it true? Like, are these rumors? Well, I heard it from Taj, who heard it from Khomeini, who heard it from Wasim. And like everyone's turning to look at him, right? And in this moment, Artemisia goes, don't report this. And like flicks her wrist because you're not supposed to possess a mortal, but she does. And Wasim just goes, oh. Yes, I spread the rumor. I was jealous of Huzaifa, and we were lovers. We'd broken up, and everyone gasps. And I wanted to besmirch his name, so I spread the rumor that he was making up all his research. It was me, Caliph. The rumors are baseless. And that's when Umar hears a click as the telescope snaps into the correct position.
And goes, Caliph, if you would please take another look. I see it. And it has the blue around it. It's not emitting. It's go ahead. And the Caliph can lean down to look. Yep. And Melchior is staring at Artemisia in this mortal's body. And has like their hands on top of Artemisia's on the seat just because they're there, and is like would be gripping the seat, but Artemisia's just right there and is just staring.
Josefa in this moment, I think, is stunned because, like you said, the thing that they cared the most about was their reputation, and to say all of that in front of the Caliph and all of the other astronomers, that's huge. And so I think Josefa has momentarily like pushed the fact, like this planetary body, this presentation to the back of their mind, and they walk over to Wasim. So you really are willing to try again. You really do care.
Wasim, Artemisia as Wasim, takes your hands in his, looks you dead in the eyes, and says, yes, I love you, Josefa, and I'm so sorry for everything I've done to you while we were together and after we broke up. Can you please just give me a second chance?
I love you too, Wasim. I'm so sorry for my part in this whole relationship. This is all I wanted, was just for you to listen, to acknowledge everything. And then I think Josefa goes in to kiss Wasim.
Artemisia
yoink.
Gets yoinked out, but you've leaned in, and just as like Artemisia's yoinked out of Wasim's body, you kiss, and Wasim goes, You know, it's like, what? But kisses you back, right? And Artemisia goes, Ooh, that feels weird.
Really? Breaking the rules feels weird to an angel.
Don't
Interesting.
report it,
What do
Melchior.
I get if I don't report it? You know, you've set them up for misery. He hasn't changed. He'll never change. I know his heart. I know his future, as do
I
you.
know, but for
He'll never
now,
change.
I need this soul, Melchior. And perhaps like you see almost like a hint of like a greater agenda. Like something about this soul in particular is very like this is just kind of another soul for you, I think maybe. But this one seems particularly important for like a reason that your higher ups haven't disclosed, right? The order hasn't told you about why this soul's special. But a solid. That's what you devils call it, right? I'll owe you a solid.
A debt, Angel. We call it what it is. We're not afraid of the truth of things.
Fine. Then I'll owe you a debt.
Delicious. And they're not like half, because they were facing to talk, so they're like sideways in the lap now. And they're just like, you know, we usually seal our deals a very specific way.
I know all about your black books and your contracts. Hand me the pen.
Oh, honey, there's no pen.
She like turns around like as you're like on her lap, right? Like holds the back of your shoulders and very like annoyedly, but like with like an odd kind of like firmness and depth, like turns around and kisses you.
Melchior kisses back because Melchior is having a gay old time, literally. Pulls back and then goes, cute. We shake hands. But it's nice to know where that needle is. And Melchior is going to poof out of this plane of existence.
And like Artemisia just sits there almost sort of like a king on a like decrepit throne. Then she snaps her gaze back toward the conference where Wasim like breaks from the kiss with you. Telescope cracks into place. Caliph is like ushered over again, has pressed like their eye back to it as Umar is like gesturing and goes, I see it. And on like them saying, I see it, Wasim going, what's just, darling? Huzefa, are we together again?
I don't know what else this would mean. Yes. Yes.
Wonderful. Great. And the Caliph goes, this is an incredible discovery. And like rises and like turns to like greet and like shake your hand. The Caliph is shaking your hand, Huzefa, and you got your ex back, and your ex like apologized in front of everyone.
They are just like shaking the Caliph's hands furiously, like beaming from ear to ear, like so happy that their academic career has just been made. Probably gonna get that patronage now, and they have their love back. Today's a good day.
Everyone, and you have Umar
Yep.
waiting in the wings, who is respectfully like, you know, is still assisting, but is also just like, okay, my time will come.
Exactly.
We gotta talk about that tea.
It'll just be a friendship tea now. He meant what he said. He doesn't go after people that are taken. He may be a spy and a war criminal eventually, but he's also a nice person.
He's a good
War
person.
criminal, but draws the line.
Draw the line.
Everybody has their own morals.
At being a homewrecker, but I can excuse war crimes. All the scholars in this space rise up and they applaud. You get a standing ovation. Everyone's applauding. The Caliph is shaking your hand. What seems they're looking a little confused, but is like smiling, happy, nodding, waving. Right. Damali is also like applauding. Look very proud of you. The vizier's wife. Either the vizier is like sniveling and applauding, and all eyes turn to you, right, for the final scene of this session. What do we see upon Huzefa's face?
We see that Huzefa's glasses are a little bit like askew from having gone in to kiss Wasim. We see that they have this kind of look of like relief finally in their body. Like their body was so tense this whole time from nervousness that finally all of that washes away. And we just see like contentment on their face as they think about what their career is going to look like from now and what their life is going to look like from now on.
As this contentment and all these swirling questions of ambition, and I mean, you feel like you're on top of the world. And yes, Huzefa, this is the crowning achievement of your academic career and your life. And I think in your twilight years, you'll look back on this memory with bittersweet fondness. But we're not there yet. And I don't know if we'll ever get there. As we pull away from this moment, like encapsulated, right? Like a beautiful butterfly in amber, like this crowning beautiful moment of your life. We pan out and we see Artemisia just go, and she twirls her wrist and we see Huzaifa's soul, golden, right? Like thread around her fingers as she like clenches her fist and captures it. And she also disappears in like a puff of gold smoke. And that has been session 2 of the Angel You Know of our Halo and Hordes miniseries. Ooh, what a gay story. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I have been one of your GMs and the producer here. My name's Connie, pronounced they, he, and she. I play Artemisia, the evil angel? What's going on with Artemisia? Who knows? I guess we'll have to find out next session or sessions after. I'm going to pass along introductions over to Brandy.
Yes, hi, hello. I have been Brandy Rose as Melchior, your devil, who is living up to her job title and nature and is now very, very smug, much more smug than we left Melchior last session. And I will pass off to our amazing mortal.
Yes, hello. My name's Humna, and I use any and all pronouns, and I'm a TTRPG performer. Today, I have been your mortal, Huzaifa Usman, uses they, them pronouns, who just had the best day of their life, probably.
Yep. I kind of want to see like what happens with Huzaifa later.
I can tell you exactly what happens. That fuckboy does not change. Pulls the same shit. I can tell you right now, as the devil 100%. And as Brandy.
100%.
Pulls the same shit over and over.
And maybe you go to
toxic
Umar.
Relationship.
Yep. Who ends up being a rat for the Mongol Empire. Which
Does that relationship even work out? Like,
I think it's a great relationship, just politically.
He'd protect you. He'd protect you. He'd be there for you. He would never lie to you.
I think maybe you survive the fall.
Help me get out before. Yeah. He's just like, don't worry about it, love. That like, I just really want to move right now. I'm getting a very strong urge to leave.
Yeah. Oh
my
God.
fake family and my fake country needs us to move back to take care of my mother, who is ailing, and also my patron.
God. Oh my God. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much. The setting, the era, the location was all up to Humna, and Humna brought this like amazing setting to us. Early 13th century Baghdad, which is so beautiful. It was so great to do so much research into this, these academic, struggles and contestations and whatnot. That was great. Tune in just for Transplaner. Tune in Saturdays for our main D&D campaign, which is a dark fantasy, all trans, BIMPOC led show. Tune into that if that's interesting to you. Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And gonna do quick intro, outro. Did y'all get to plug your things? I forget. Were you all
I don't think we plugged anything yet.
Go plug your things. Go, Brandy. Go.
Oh, okay. Hi, hello. Again, the Brandy Rose is me on Twitter, Brandy Rose Official on Instagram, Cutest Patoot on Twitch and TikTok. On Twitch, I teach game design. So I teach game design. We do game design fundamentals, and I show you guys the behind the scenes and the creation of all of the games that I release because I want to make game design more accessible to people. And in that vein, I have a new show coming out, which by the time this airs might have already aired, might be about to air. Roll With It, which is created for the company Roll, the Roll app. They have been so kind as to support me and sponsor me through this talk show where I interview different game designers, and then we create a game from scratch in less than 20 minutes and then play it on the talk show. It will air on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/cutestpatoot, and all of my other shows that now belong to the wonderful Patoot Podcast Network, which has its own Twitter, Patoot Podcasts. That's PATOOT, like butt. Yep, I'm very, very excited for all of the shows that are now in the Patoot Podcast Network. Some of them are airing soon, including a new show that I haven't released yet, but you guys get to hear it first. To Be Movie or Not to Be Movie, a B movie fan podcast, will be airing fall 2022 on Spotify and everywhere where you get your podcasts. So that is my 10th show, actually, that I am the host or co-host of, and the producer.
That's amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
I need to listen to that.
I love that you were like, I want a 10th show and I want it to be about the B movie.
No! Oh my God! B movies, the genre. B movies, the genre. You fucking nerd.
I thought it was B movie.
I
thought it was a B movie.
The genre. the genre B movies,
Like
Sharknado,
B-list
Love
movies.
Antula,
Yeah.
Piranaconda, The Culture.
I genuinely thought you meant like the B movie, and I was like, all
Such
right.
nerds. Oh my god.
I was like, how can he have
The
more than
B
one
movie?
episode?
The B movie. No. Oh my god. The letter B dash movie, as in the movie genre. All hail Queen Elvira. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to do some serious tagline editing for that show.
Yeah,
Thank you for pointing that out. Oh my god. That had not even occurred to me.
Well, you got both of us. Maybe the audience
my
was
God.
smarter than us, but
Maybe. Yes. I'm a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Twitter at @shahid_, where I talk about all of the different projects I'm a part of. All of my characters are queer disasters who make bad decisions, so if you like that kind of thing, you should follow me there and see what I'm up to.
heck yeah, Humna's amazing. Humna also happens to be a player on Transplaner RPG, where they play another romantic, moody intellectual. Wow.
Ooh, Humna.
Do you have? Are we typecasting you? Is it the grad student in you?
Oh, no.
Is it the grad
Oh, no.
I'm gonna have to take a very
Wait.
close look at Irha on Tides of Change, which is the actual play that you and I play on. I'm gonna have to.
It has
take a
not
close
an
look at-
academic.
That's true.
It has not an academic
Just
at all.
But are
movie.
they smart? Are they smart?
They have to be. Come on, I can't play a dumb character.
You heard it here first, folks. I'm gonna going.
As
Come on, I can't
Mamori,
play
I
a dumb
resent
character.
that. I resent that. Mamori.
Mamori's not dumb. She just has amnesia. There's a difference.
Oh no, she's dumb. It's fine. She's a little stupid.
god.
You
She's
could also
very pretty.
argue.
She's very stupid. It's great.
You could argue Jiran is also dumb. Smart, but
Low
dumb.
wisdom. Low wisdom.
Listen,
That's what I'm gonna
you
use to
play,
describe myself
you play
every time I do
high-int.
something stupid. I'm low wisdom. It's okay.
Huzefa's also low wiz. I feel like Huzefa's also low wiz. Like high intellect. That's your typecast.
I
Everyone
intellect, low wisdom. Yep.
cast Humna in your paid actual plays where you can typecast them as low wiz characters. Just kidding. They have
Oh, no.
range. They're amazing. They're amazing.
Do I have range? Now I'm questioning my life.
You have to play a goofy character now. You have to do a voice.
Oh no.
But
Like,
tune in.
your voice is funny. Like your British.
I have like 7 voices I can do. One of them is horrible British UK accent. One of them is literal like little boy. One of them is squeak voice. Another one of them is old man. My 5th voice that I can do is just me, but pitched kind of lower for the big muscular women I play.
That's Mercy right there.
That's Mercy. Yep. The 6th voice I can do is kind of like this is like Ravi, but like a lot worse, like a really gravelly voice. The 7th voice I can do is just me, but slightly higher. That's it. I have no range.
No, that is range. It's great. That's range. That's
Yeah,
great.
I was gonna say, no, that's
Amazing.
pretty decent.
No, I need to take voice acting lessons, actually. Maybe I'll hit you up for those, Brandy. We'll see.
You should. I am recently actually fully signed to the Jackson voiceover agency now.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's awesome. This has been the longest introduction in the history of introductions. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm gonna say goodbye now. Like, for real. We're
everyone.
gonna raid someone awesome. Use the raid message. Even if you can't stay around, give them a follow if you fuck with their shit. Let them know Transplaner sent you. Rep Transplaner in chat. Say you gotta lurk if you have to lurk. We love you so much. Bijo.